Hey guys, it's 007 here, and today we're going to talk about the English Electric Lightning. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage really that covers the aircraft in the second dev server. A lot of the time was really consumed with obviously the J35 from the last two videos, but I was also experimenting and operating the F4E Phantom, and I plan on bringing you some more in-depth information with regards to that aircraft in the next video that I plan on doing. But basically, I want to talk about the English Electric Lightning because it has probably the most prevalent issue when it comes to Britain and the game. And in fact, it could probably encompass a lot of other nations with regards to their aircraft being added later on. Depends on what aircraft's coming to mind. But this specific role, I think, deserves a lot of focus. So, when I flew against the English Electric Lightning, I mean, we'll start before that. On the first dev server, when I first flew the Electric Lightning, I wasn't really impressed with the thrust, and that was one of the big changes that occurred when the second dev server came. They improved the thrust, handling occurred. I think it was capable of more angle attack from what I saw. It looked really good on the second dev server. First dev server wasn't really much to write home about. It was mostly the airframe and shape. It was fascinating to think that an aircraft that had been designed by people as a user mission operated aircraft, and to find it getting added to the game only now was kind of interesting to think about. Like, I forget how old it is. I think Fly Daily did videos back of it maybe 3 years ago, maybe four. It was definitely around the time, or it was right behind after the Hunter had been introduced because they had introduced the Aiden cannon, and that's what people were able to use as a base insert for the aircraft because that's what this aircraft operated with. Very old uh, idea to add to the game, but it just wasn't ready at the time. And it's kind of not really ready now, in my opinion. But like I said, that's an opinion of the sort, and I'll go into why that's the case in my opinion. So basically, I'm glad that the British are getting the English Electric Lightning. This aircraft was extremely capable in its mission. It was designed to intercept Soviet bombers to protect the V bomber series, which were the three different variations of bombers that were armed with nuclear weapons that would leave England and head for their targets, basically in the Eastern Bloc or the Soviet Union. That was the mutually assured destruction retaliatory response that Britain was going to bring to the table. And they needed a fighter that could give the Royal Air Force time to get their bombers off the ground. And even beyond that, also protect the nuclear missile silos that Britain operated in the home island. So this fighter had a very incredible role to perform, and a lot of other planes have been before it. I think even the Hunter was adapted for the role. It was initially seen as a critical asset to a high-speed, high-climb aircraft. This one just basically the Lightning took it to a whole new level, being Mach 2 capable. It really brought a lot more to the table, and that was the ideal thing. It gave them more time to react to defeat the oncoming threat. So that's the basic story behind the Lightning. Now, swinging back towards the reality of what's going to be happening in War Thunder, when I played against this thing, I can't say I was very impressed. I thought it looked really good when it was fighting, but it just didn't look like it was in its place or its element. Whenever I saw this thing flying, it looked like it was very niche. It really needed the role to fill. Like, it was a little awkward. It was like watching a fish out of water in some regards when it came to dogfighting. The plane just looked like it was understeering the entire time. It doesn't have the turn time or the turn rate to keep up with a lot of the other aircraft. And one of the other things that I saw that was very, very kind of disturbing was when I took up my F4 Phantom, the F4C and the F4E Phantom, on the deck, I was outrunning this thing like crazy. And the thing was, the Lightning I was running alongside was 5 minutes fuel, whatever the minimalistic fuel load that was able to be taken. I was still rifling past it. It might have gotten the jump off the airstrip, And that's the thing about this plane is it's going to have incredible flight performance, it's going to have incredible acceleration, incredible climb rate. But that can only go so far. Yes, you can use that in the initial stage to getting an advantage, and I agree that that's going to be a huge deal for this aircraft is getting that advantage because if we're honest, I think it's going to be the only thing it really will be able to stand on. I don't think the air-to-air missiles are really something that's going to, I don't know, take care of the match. It doesn't seem like it has the sufficient ammo supply or capacity, and the missiles kind of seem weak compared to what's already in the game. It just, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's going to be very good when it comes to that fighter-on-fighter role. And it kind of brings me back to a couple of the older days situations back in War Thunder. Stuff probably before some people that, have followed this channel and all that have really experienced or even really heard about with War Thunder. For example, the Tupolev 4, when it was introduced to the game, originally it was like a 6.7 aircraft, which is crazy to think for people that have encountered the Tupolev 4 and never knew why it got to that, or knew how it got to that battle rating. But 6.7 was where it started out, went to 7.0, and then within like 2 weeks it was at 8.0. And it was a whole new problem. This was before 9.3 and up existed. It was 9.0, that was the highest it went. Bop, that was it. So 9.0 aircraft are being forced to deal with the Tupolev 4, and the Tupolev 4 was pretty scary in its heyday because, for one thing, there weren't any limits on the amount of bombers you could have in a match. Now, that changed probably when it got to 8.0, but before that, when it was 7.0, you could see an entire armada of Tupolev 4s running across the map to try and take out the enemy airfield, or opposite airfields. Like, they were crossing each other, taking out each other's airfields. It was kind of sad because there was no real way for the fighters to really get up there, and if they did get up there, those that did usually got shot down because the air defense of the bombers were so good. And when it got to 9.0, or fighting 9.0 aircraft as an 8.0 aircraft, it really changed what happened. New aircraft, and it was a new initiative within the teams, and this was before mixed battles really was at high tier as well. At 9.0, the NATO teams, which were the US, Britain, Japan, France didn't exist yet, but those three nations basically worked together, and they opposed the Germans, the Soviets, and the Italians back in the day. So it was those three on those three. And basically what happened was the the Hunter pilots basically would have to go up and intercept the Tupolev 4. Now, I'm not saying Germany never fought Russia. They did. Those battles did exist, but it was really in rarity. It was more of the, like I said, U.S., Britain, and Japan fighting Germany and the Soviet Union. Italy came on a little bit later, but they kind of got to experience the battles or the era, we'll call it that way. But the thing that was so unique about the whole situation was at 8.0, there's two aircraft that come to mind as interceptors. And those two aircraft are the Me-163 and the Ki-200. And one of the unique things about those two aircraft was they never really had an aircraft that they were very good at taking down. Sure, they could climb up. They had really good performance. They didn't need to worry about breathing air because they're rocket-powered gliders. But their role is specifically designed to take out high-altitude, high-flying bombers that were basically moving in on their airfield/infrastructure that they were designed to defend. And the moment they moved the Tupolev 4 to 8.0, voila. The Ki-200, Me-163, they both got a mission that they could facilitate. It was actually the planes that they were designed to deal with. And now at the speeds that they were supposed to fly at, the Me-163 and the Ki-200 could pursue these aircraft. They could get up, climb up into an intercept position, make their run on the target, or they could just run up from underneath and just cut the heck out of it. And that was a similar story for the Hunter F1s. The Hunter F1s did a lot of the heavy lifting. Also, a lot of people didn't really think about it back then, but there were a lot of pilots in the Canberra and B-57s. They would actually make suicide runs on these Tupolev 4s. If they weren't armed. Usually they would even make a run and try and just ram the bomber. It was a very interesting time in War Thunder where I don't think you could find a more hated player base. Well, actually, no, I can take that back. There's plenty of hated player bases in this game. What am I kidding? But really, it was so unique to see something like this happening within the game, where you had an entire team committed to dealing with the threat. But the overlying message that comes back and talks about the Lightning is the fact that the Lightning doesn't really have an aircraft that it was designed to shoot down, which is the issue. There's no bombers that it's designed to take care of, and that's down to the fact of the doctrine of the game and the direction that it's basically going. While we're not seeing these jet-powered bombers such as, or even turboprop bombers like the Tu-95, we're not seeing stuff like that. And whether you think that's fortunate or unfortunate, that's another debate to be had. We're not going to dwell on that yet in this video. I do plan on talking about it, but really, there's nothing for this aircraft to really engage. Now, if we were to talk about, say, aircraft that were more the fighter-bomber role, like F-105s, Sukhoi 7s, that might be the field of aircraft that the Lightning will prosper on, is getting to take off, try and find these aircraft, hunt them down as they're making their run on their targets on the ground or bases, whatever. And that would be the opportunity for this aircraft. High-speed interception to try and hunt down the incoming ground attackers, or, like I said, bombers. Deal with them and facilitate that mission. That, I can see, is where the Lightning would succeed in this game. Not to say that this thing won't be able to dogfight. I'm sure there are pilots that will definitely take it to whole new heights in the dogfighting arena. I know I'll personally be going after it. It'll be a very exciting time for me to get the FGR basically back into service. And that's really what I'm excited about, is the opportunity to grind more aircraft in War Thunder, especially with Japan, United States, especially Sweden. That's a good one that I'm going to enjoy. But the FGR, I'll be gladly happy to refly that plane again. But that's basically all I have to say with regards to the Lightning. I don't know what you guys think about the Lightning. A lot of people have definitely made videos about it, showing the missiles, showing the flight performance. I think the flight performance is excellent on it. I just kind of worry about its ability to facilitate the mission of dogfighting rather than its original mission that it was designed for, which was intercept. So that's all I got to say, guys. Hope you guys having a good day, and I'll see you later. Take care.